Yeah, hello everyone. Good eve. Hope you are all doing well. Thanks for joining us today. For those who are joining me very first time, I'm Anshuman Kumar Prasad, one of the organizer of BUGTRONS 2.0. Welcome to BUGTRONS Con series powered by Prep Insta, Stream Partners StreamYard, and Learn with. Um, this is brought to you by DEVSTRONS and obviously Learn with Community. Um, Talking about BUGTRONS, it's an initiative by DEVSTRONS begin with a mindset of encouraging community folks and make them aware of the edtech industry by putting emphasis on problem solving, code efficiency, code optimization, and logic based programming. We empower coders to get influenced by developing software, enhancing skills, solving bugs, and producing numerous opportunity via tech. If you haven't registered yet for the contest, the links are in description. Yeah, we are having some of the amazing folks here. So we have to introduce our community as well here because we are, like powering us, powered by a hack club. And so DevStrons is a student-run community, and it's an open source community that is very inclusive and diverse, entered into Learn, Code, and Tron, an organization bridging a gap between beginners and professionals to provide opportunities, resources to the folks around. To know more about this, feel free to join our Discord server. Again, the links are in description. We are also having some of the swags for today's session, and yeah, so I can already see there are so much buzz in the chat here, and it's always been great to see you all interacting. Yeah, so for talking more about Web3, today we are having an amazing panel sharing with Harsh Bajpai, who is a software developer, community manager for APAC territory, and yeah, so he's from Hack Club, and Aditya Sahu, who is currently building Learn with Community. He is an amazing instructor also. Yeah, so yeah, would be a pleasure to have you on stage. Hi everyone.
Hello, Anshuman. It's my pleasure also to hear.
Yeah, pretty excited for that. Yep.
Yeah. So So Harsh, would you wanna give some description about the what you gonna cover today?
Cool, sure. So we are going to talk about the problem that Web3 solves, because I've seen there has been a lot of discussion about like how to get started with Web3, but a very little discussion about what problem are we even trying to solve. So yeah, that's what the talk is majorly going to be on about. Yeah.
Okay, so it revolves around totally on Web3, and we actually have one of the I guess greatest learner here, Aditya, who is learning this stuff. So yeah, the stage is all yours, and yeah, Harsh, continue with the session.
Cool. Yeah. So let me just share my screen super quick. And I guess someone said that
Yep.
my voice is a bit low. So is it fine or not as of now?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
It's
Cool.
perfect.
Yeah. So let me just share my screen and let's get started. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Cool.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, hi everyone. So, today we are going to talk about why the heck Web3. And basically, as I earlier said, that I've seen a lot of discussion on Twitter and be it on YouTube where a lot of people are talking about, like get started with Web3. Here is the blockchain developer roadmap. But the question is that, like, what are we even trying to solve at the first, like base level? What is that is being solved? So this is what the presentation is or the talk is majorly going to be all about. And I will try to be super quick and try to make it crisp in 15 to 20 minutes because I do know that online talks do get boring if stretched over a very long duration. So yeah, let's get started. So who am I? Okay, so again, I would like to do a very small introduction. So I work at the Asia Pacific team of Hack Club. I'm a staff member there, and I lead the club's program as of now at Hack Club's Asia Pacific team. I'm also working with a bunch of Web3 teams in India, and yeah, I've also contributed to few of few blockchain projects. Like I have some PRs that have got merged there too. So I'm also actively uh, participating in whatever capacity I can. Uh, cool. So what am I interested in, and why the heck am I even talking about this? So there are three things that I want to solve overall in my life, and these are the three problems where I really want to work on. Uh, so number one is solving money once and for all, and the second one is artificial general intelligence, and the third one is human life expansion. And the chronological order in which I am working is like trying to solve uh, the first problem, that is solving money once and for all. And this is what Bitcoin is actually attempting to do, and this is the problem that I'm currently focusing on. This is where I'm working and putting my energy on. But once I think that it has been solved to a certain degree, I would definitely love to transition to the other two problems that I've described. Uh, cool, swags. So, as I said, I work at Hack Club. So, I would love to send few of you some swags from our sites. So, I have few swags here in my hand. If you might be able to say it. And if you go to our stickers pages, this is what our stickers look like. We have wonderful stickers, like the most beautiful stickers. That's what I would say. Like I really love them personally. So, who to whom I would be sending these stickers? So there are two criteria. Number one is that the three best asked questions will get swags, right? All sent from our side. And the so I will, at the end of it, I will ask a question, and it's a very favorite question of mine. And like whoever answers it in the most interesting way, or whoever's answers we personally find more interesting, well, we will also send them swags. So although I said five, but we can do it for seven, eight, or we can accompany more people if we see some more interesting answers to that questions. And I guess like you can even answer them later on the Discord where this event is being run on. Cool. So let's move forward. So as I said, like the first problem that I want to solve is solving money once and for all, right? Uh, so before we get into like what Bitcoin is trying to solve, we need to understand a very small thing, and that is the concept of money. So what makes sound money, right? So you have a 10, let's say, rupee note on your pocket. So how do you describe that it's sound money, it's good money? So there are some characteristics of good money. And number one is utility and value. That is, it should have utility. Number two is that it should be easily portable, indestructible, homogeneity, which means that my 10 rupee should not be different from your 10 rupee. Divisibility, which means that uh, like it should be divisible in very, 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 very small amounts, right? You have a single rupee coin. Earlier there you also used to be a, I guess, 10 paisa in India. And then stability, which means that if I have, let's say, 10 rupees and I can buy a packet of chips from it now, like down 10 or 20 years, right? If I don't spend this 10 rupee, I should still be able to buy a chips packet of the same size in that period of time, right? So this is also something that makes sound money. Otherwise, if it loses value, if you keep it with you, then that's not sound money, right? So these are like few characteristics of what makes a sound money. And basically, if you look at the earlier type of money that we used to have, and this is what I call the, so first of all, my PowerPoint presentation skills are not the best. So yeah, you have to deal with PowerPoint presentations like these. But yeah, anyway, so the earlier dollar that we used to have, and I'm talking before 1930s, right? After 1930s, this was not how dollar was. It, and after 1970s, it even changed, like it completely changed, right? So before 1930s, the US dollar was just a receipt of gold. So what it meant was that, because if you look at gold, right, it has one problem, and that is portability. It's hard to carry gold, right? So to challenge this like to solve this problem, one of the best thing that you could do at that time was to create a receipt that you have some gold. So you go to a bank, you deposit your gold, you get back dollars from them. So indirectly you still own gold, right? And this note was a receipt of your gold. So if the government wants to print another dollar, they need some gold to back it, which means that every dollar that is in circulation is backed by something that we all believe in has value. And at that time, and even in today's term, it is gold, right? And this was all good until something happened in 1930, and I won't be going into the depth of what happened, right? But uh, US citizens could not privately own gold uh, at that period of time. And after 1970s, this receipt, this thing that you call the note, what's completely detached from its gold backing. So as of now, any currency that you have, it's not backed by anything, right? So if a government wants to print more of something, right, they need nothing to back it up. They can push money into a circulation, and you might ask, cool, but what's bad with it, you know? But the thing is that now let's just imagine uh, that there is let's say one chips packet which is worth 10 rupees, and you have earned 10 rupees, right? So there is a demand for a chips packet, right? So there is a demand for this chips packet, the 10 rupees you have, and there is a supply, that is, you can, someone is willing to sell you a chips packet. Now if Mr. Government prints another of this 10 rupee note, suddenly two there are 20 rupees, and there is still one chips packet left, right? So the value of the chips packet goes up, right? Just because the government printed another money, and the economy didn't grow that fast, right? So the 10 rupee that you after working so hard just literally lost its value because government printed another extra 10 rupee note, which was like, which kind of made, like, this is the sign of inflation, right? This is what basically inflation is. So the current fiat currencies that we have are backed by nothing, right? And this is a problem in itself, right? So these were like some of the, like, after 1970s, like, these things were building up, and then after that there were more and more problems. So if you look at problems, number one is banking, right? Not everyone in the world still has access to banks, because getting banked is very difficult, right? Point number, like, another thing could be Visa, Mastercard. So if you do a payment with a Visa or a Mastercard card, right, they take a heavy amount of fee. And what are they taking this fee for? Just for settling your payments, right? So this was another problem. Not everyone was included into the system. Governments had control over how they want to print money, and people were losing value, and someone needs to solve this. Someone needs to solve this problem. And um, so before we talk about how Bitcoin comes and the birth of, like, when we how Bitcoin can solve this, uh, we need to understand that what does your bank even do? Like, what does it does at a basic level? So sure, it gives loans and a lot of other things, but at the basic level, what bank has is a ledger, right? And a ledger is basically like a record, right? So let's say you deposit $5. So the bank knows you have deposited $5. Then in the second row of the ledger, let's say you spend $3. So cool, the bank marks $3 spent. So you are now left with $2, right? So it is basically just simple account keeping that they're doing for you as a service, right? And the problem is that you cannot see their ledger. You cannot see how this is being maintained, right? So you cannot directly write to the ledger because you need a bank. There is no one ledger, right? Like, different banks have their own ledgers, right? So you have a very high amount of dependency on bank, right? Let's say you deposited your life saving in a bank, and the bank goes down, your money goes down, right? Because you never owned the money was with the bank, so you don't know what they're doing with it. You can't see their ledger, right? So yeah, so this is another problem. Like, you generally don't own your money, you generally lend it to a third party. So these are some of the core problems that need to be solved, and someone needs to solve them. right? And this is where we have the birth of Bitcoin, a distributed ledger where everyone can read and write. So basically, if you remember this ledger, right? As of now, this ledger is only with the bank. But what if me, you, and everyone else could have this ledger, right? And we all could update it and write to it all together. So, for example, uh, let's say five people have five ledgers, like five different records, right? And when anyone wants to spend some money, when A wants to spend money for B or to B, right? We all can update our ledgers, right? So this way, we all can know what is happening. We all can make sure that nothing goes haywire. We all know that, like, we all can verify the records we have and know that, yes, this is what has happened. And suddenly, this central dependence that we have on banks goes out, right? So, uh, it looks like this, right? As of now, this is the current world. You have a centralized ledger. So this ledger is just with the bank. Whatever happens stays with the bank. The bank does it all, right? Bank owns everything that you have. In case of a distributed ledger, right? Every person or every node, you can say, if you want to go in more uh, like technical computer science terms, has their own ledgers, right? And they are recording transactions as time passes, as new transactions come in, right? And hence, everyone knows at a given time that uh, what the current state is, who owns how much, right? And hence, this solves the problem of trust. This removes the centralized player that existed here and lets everyone else participate in, right? So, as I again said, I am going to be more talking about the problem rather than the solution. So, yeah. So, lol, where is the blockchain here, right? Like, where is the blockchain word here? Because we have all read that Bitcoin solves. So, this distributed ledger technology, where we're distributing this ledger to everyone, somewhere we have heard the word blockchain. And the question in our mind is that then where is the word blockchain? Like, why do we have the word blockchain associated with it, right? And I would like you all to see a beautiful simulation visualization that I think explains it at the best. Like, this is the best piece of art that I would say I've seen in a long time. Cool. So yeah, let it reload, and then we can talk up. Then we might be able to see visually that why do we call it a blockchain. Cool. Here we go. So let's choose the quality to be medium. My screen is visible, right? Like this is cool. So if you look here, yeah, now this simulation is starting. So just give it a second. So now it is saying that a new block is created every 10 minutes, and we will get into what a block is. We will get through this visualization. Just give it, let's say, 15 more seconds. And here we go. Yes. Uh, cool. So if you look here, right? If you look at this square that you can see here, right? If you look at the square here, basically it has dots, right? So what are these dots? So basically, how do you even spend money? You do transactions. You say that I want to spend some amount X and want to give it to some person B, right? So this is a transaction. A wants to send to B amount X. So each dot that you see, yeah, is this simulation hanging? Mm, okay, so I guess this simulation is hanging for some reason. Let me just restart it super quick. Till then, I just want to make sure that I am audible. So if someone can confirm me that I'm audible, like this screen is visible, and I'm still audible, then that's fine. That would be like good.
Yep,
Yeah, cool. The
you're
screen is right. Yeah.
you are visible as well.
Mhm. Cool. Yeah. Let's restart this simulation. And I hope this time it works. It worked before like this call. I did play it with it a bit, so it should work now too. But I don't see any reason why it should not work. Yeah. Come on, come on, come on. Uh, yeah, I guess whoever came to let me know that the mic is working. Yeah, I guess you can mute your mic. There is like a small disturbance that is coming from there. Uh, cool. Uh, so let's start exploring, right? So, as I said that every time A wants to send money to B, it's a transaction, right? You say that I made a transaction to the merchant, right? So if you look at this block, this square, right? There are dots that you can see here. And what are these dots? These dots are transactions, right? So, okay, it's again hung. And is it because I'm streaming and doing everything together? Mm, okay, let's just try to change the browser super quick. Although I hope the browser solves the problem. Another browser solves this problem. So yeah, or page not found. Okay. And this is going to be our last attempt. If this does not work, then we would have to, God knows, we would have to then explain it in a not so cool way, because this is the coolest way to explain blockchain that I've seen till this far. So I hope it was somehow related to the browser that I'm using, but it worked audio. So let's just do it, give it a last try. Oh, cool. Yeah, so I hope this works. It already had hung, but yeah, cool. Yeah. So all of these small dots are transactions, as I said already. And yeah, it's working, peeps. So it's good. So if you click on any, like if you click on any of these dots, you see TX. So it's a transaction, right? And it tells you how much money was sent, the inputs, right? So all of these small dots that you're seeing here are transactions. These are inputs, right? Cool. So why the word blockchain then? So basically the way it happens is that every so basically this whole square that you're seeing, you can call it a block. And a block is a collection of transactions, right? So every transaction is contained inside a block. And now in Bitcoin, each block has a size limit. And as far I know, it's 1 MB, right? So if I go here, a block beside it, every block records these transactions, these collection of transactions. I can click here on any of them, and you will see that it's another transaction. It tells how much Bitcoin was transferred, right? And basically, every block, 1 megabyte block, right, is connected with the block beside it. So this block, right, the block that is here is connected with the block beside it. And then this is connected with the block beside it, right? So I can look at the transactions here too. So this way, I can go back, and I won't go back as of now to this genesis of the blockchain, but I can go back and back, and I can keep going back till I reach where, like, the place where the blockchain started. So if on any given day I want to verify that this blockchain, whatever it says, is right or not, I can simply do additions, or like repeated addition subtractions, or basically repeatedly verify that whether you actually have that balance or not. If I want to do, theoretically, it's possible to travel through this whole list of blocks that contains all the transactions and verify that whether a given transaction is legit or not, or whether a person really had the value that they claim they want to spend, right? So this is why it's called a blockchain. A block is basically a collection of transactions that is linked with the block behind it, right? So blockchains are kind of like data structures. If you people are, let's say, like if you people are aware about something like linked list, you might think that it's very similar to that. And yeah, this is what blockchain is, like this is all the first that you hear about. This is what it is. Like it basically is this. Now there are a lot of technical complexities revolving around it, right? But at the base fundamental level, this is it. A block is a collection of transactions. A block has a size. Once that size has been met, right, a new block is created, and this new block links with the block uh, behind it, right? So if you look here, these are, like it says that this is block 70. Okay, this block is 7,16,344. So basically 716K344. This is the block number, and it tells you everything about it, right? That how many transactions were there. So how many of these small transactions are inside this block. So yeah, this is what blockchain is at the core of it, right? And I love this simulation. I think it's the most beautiful thing. It has been created by IOHK. So if someone is familiar with Cardano, they might know what it is. Cool. So how do I share this? So I guess I have this live stream running here. So I will simply share it here. Yep. This is the link I have put in the live chat or YouTube, so you people too can visualize and play with it. And as I promised you people that I won't be taking a lot of your time, I will be trying to wrap it up as soon as possible. But yeah, so we are kind of nearing the end of what I wanted to say, what I wanted to convey. So if we go here, yeah. So the last thing that I want to touch, otherwise people will say that you told everything apart from smart contracts. So what are these, right? So as of now, what we saw in that simulation was that these transactions store information, that who sent whom what. But at the end of the day, what is your code? It's binary. It's a binary executable file, right? So how about we store the code in these transactions, right? So this way we could store code in these transactions, and everyone who has this distributed ledger, who runs a node, can execute the code that has been deployed. So what benefit would it even have in the first place, right? So basically, let's just assume that there is so basically, let's say I and you do business together, right? And I want, let's say you or sell me a web service, and basically we have a lawyer. A lawyer writes a contract that if a service with these qualities are delivered, right, I have to pay this person this money, and then there is a court that decides that whether the contract has been dealt properly or not, right? So this is the current structure. But this is so troublesome, like you have to go to the court, then you need a lawyer. These lawyers are very expensive. So imagine if we could just put if we could write code and put it among all of these computers, right? So I could write a script that if I buy amount X of your web services and they provide these benchmarks, I will pay you this much amount, right? So basically, the smart contract or this piece of code will take the money from me, lock it somewhere, Then it will wait for the person to come up and provide a proof that the service has been sent to me with these metrics. And if this condition is met, it can release the money to the person, right? Now, since this is distributed among all of these computers, right, it's very hard to play the system, and hence code becomes law. You can distribute these pieces of codes on different nodes, on different on this whole blockchain, and people can write logic on top of them. So these are what smart contracts are, although I tried to explain it to you via some yeah like via some examples, but there is technical complexities on top of it, and you would have to learn how blockchain works at the fundamental, like what is cryptography and all of that. But I don't want to get into this, right? I want it to be a general person's introduction to what it is. So, as a blockchain developer, I won't be going through the whole roadmap because the blockchain industry as of now is filled with many projects, and not all of them will be there in the future. But as of now, there are two options that a blockchain developer has: either to develop inside a virtual machine or to develop a custom blockchain. So, what do I mean by the first option? So, if you look in the case of Ethereum, each of these nodes have a virtual machine installed on it. It's called the Ethereum virtual machine, and you can write code program in a language called as Solidity that compiles for that virtual machine, right? So this is called development in a virtual machine. So few examples is Solidity and Clarity. And then the second option is to create your own custom blockchain. Frameworks like Substrate that has been developed by the team that developed Polkadot, and Cosmos SDK comes in. But you would have to explore it because I can't put all of this together in this call, because I promise that it will be super quick. Cool. So I guess this is what it is. The problem that we're trying to solve in the blockchain industry is is basically to create systems that can work without any intermediary, right? So wherever intermediaries or the middleman is has the advantage or can manipulate their position as a middleman, those fields need to be like decentralized, and this is what we are trying to do. This is the fundamental problem that is being solved out there. And when you say that I work in web3, this is what you mean when you say that I work in web3, that I am trying to decentralize things that are vulnerable by middlemen, right? So yeah, like this is why it's one of the problems that I have decided that I would like to work on during my lifetime. And yeah, this is what I am anyway I'm already working on this. So yeah, well, yeah, this was the virtual machine thing, but I guess we covered this. So before I end this presentation, uh, I told that I will ask a question, and whoever gives like the interest, like some interesting answers, I would love to send them some swags. Uh, so the question is that assume that you live in a utopia, right? Which means that everyone else's basic needs, food, water, shelter, has been taken care of. So my question is that if given unlimited money and unlimited power, what would you make? What is something? And why do I ask this question? A lot of people have asked me, why do I ask this question? And the reason is because I meet a lot of people who say to me that, like, if I get funding, man, I would make this is basically my Bangalore friends, right? Or people would say that if I was not limited by time, like I would like just I would just do complete madness. But they always fail to describe what is that they would particularly do, right? So that's why I love to ask this question to people, that what would you do if given unlimited money and unlimited power? What would you build? So yeah, this is the question that I would like to see. I would like to see some interesting answers here. Uh, so yeah, before I end the presentation, if you want to talk with me, if you want to understand the work that I do, so well, number one place is GitHub. So you can go on my GitHub. It's Bajpai244, and it's basically, yeah. So you can go here, and yeah, you can look at the projects that I've been working on. And the second thing is, this is the only social media where I'm active. I'm not super active on Instagram and like, but I'm super active on Twitter as of now. So you can ask me there, or you can join Hack Club Slack and ask me there too. Anything that works for you is is fine for me, right? Cool. So this marks the end of my presentation, and I hope you liked the talk, or uh, like whatever I presented. Like, I hope that it at least makes you understand what is that we have been trying to solve in the first place.
Okay,
Yeah, such an amazing pan sharing, and yeah, that's awesome.
that's a great
Even
session,
if
Rush. Like the animation you have watched, like you have displayed, that's a great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
So basically, we
sure.
have discussed about the key, what is the Web3 and all. Let's do the some discussion. Before that, let's take some question. Vinod has displayed.
Mhm. I had a question about Bitcoin in 2017. I guess like this one. Yeah. Uh, Bitcoin was hacked and a hard fork was created and Bitcoin guy. So yeah, that part is true. So I have a friend of mine, Zfog, and he told me that they got both BTC, and he got both of them, BTC, and he also has BTC Cash. So yeah, that happened.
Okay.
But that for that to happen, like for you to own both of them, uh, before the fork happened, you should have owned some Bitcoin before that. Only then you would be owning it on both the networks.
Correct, correct.
But yeah, Krish had a lot of questions. Yeah.
Krish.
It's good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, he has a one question and he's spamming on that chat.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
again we have one question with Ankit Chaudhary.
Is
Please.
blockchain tech for programmers and skilled people only? Even the contracts has code in it. Basically, can general people also use blockchain with basic knowledge about coding? Yeah. So, for example, if you look at a social media, right? You use a social media, but you don't create its database. You don't create its login systems. You don't create Twitch's streaming backend, right? No one does that, right? So they will always be builders and they will always be consumers. It's already happening. If you look at a lot of celebrities are selling their NFTs. So yeah, uh, you general people won't have to deal with the complexity. They just have to understand the system enough that it's something that is better than what is already out there.
Okay, so I hope he get. And again, we have a very small question that from Dhruv
What
Solanki.
is
What is hard and soft fork in Bitcoin?
So I do know the hard fork. So basically forking is. Let me just give you an example. So in case of Ethereum, you might have heard that. So if anyone here invests, they might have seen that there is Ethereum Classic, and there
Ethereum
is
Classic? Yeah,
Ethereum, right? So basically, what a fork of a blockchain is that, let's say there are 100 people that are running a blockchain, and 30 of them decide that they no more believe in the philosophy with which the other 70 are, like working. So what they can do is that they can create a fork of it. So basically, they can now start. So basically, if you saw the, like a visualization that I showed you, right? They can start adding blocks, but different blocks. So their blocks would be different. They won't be following the same protocol, right, that this new blockchain is trying to move towards. And this will basically create two different blockchain histories. So it will look like a chain that went like straight, and at any given point where the fork happened, some people started s- recording this history and other people started recording this history, and with time these become two different chains. So this is the difference between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. What I know why Ethereum and Ethereum Classics were separated, and I hope that I am recalling it right, is that a DAO was so there was this project DAO and it was hacked. So Ethereum Foundation thought that it's better that we give, like, we replace the history of the blockchain and we reset it before the attack so that people who lost money can recover it. And Ethereum Classic were like, this is against the philosophy. So a fork happened. Two different chains came out through that process.
DAO
Yeah.
Attack is also famous about that.
Could you repeat that?
DAO Attack, it's also famous. That's a basically show that ki whatever you have told.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
DAO Attack. So here is my question. One thing, ki let's do the some basics attitude discussion question. Ki you have just told us ki what is the Web 3 and what is the basic principle which is going on Web 3. But you can say that give me the like reason. Suppose somebody wants to give me the reason ki why I will prefer the Web, why the web 2 is having a basically lots of people has the idea web 2, but now it's web 3 community, it's growing, it's basically
Yeah.
people are learning and then sharing their knowledge in community. So there is no any basically you can say that the correct knowledge which is available on the internet, you can say that the less of lack of the knowledge. Give me the reason ki why I will just prefer this web 3 rather than this web 2.
Cool. Yeah. So Web3 is only preferable in places where the solution is actually required. And a great way to verify whether it's something that deserves so many resources is by seeing that how much vulnerable the system is if it relies on a middleman, right? So as of now, if you look at financial payments or assets, this is something where I want people to move to Web3 because there are levels of ownership, right? So let's say your fiat, right? So the notes currency that you own, its level of ownership is very low because the government can come up any day and say that we no more believe in, like we are demonetizing it, right? So the level 2 is, let's say you own a house, right? That's your ownership. It has somehow more, like it's somehow more close in form of ownership that you have of your asset compared to uh, a fiat currency, but still it is seizable. Number 3 is gold. You could keep gold at your home, although it's you cannot keep a lot of it, but you can still keep it. And in a way, you can say that you have decent ownership of gold. But then there is Bitcoin, and you can hold as much Bitcoin as you want on your wallet, right? So these are places where people should transition to Web3, right? And not everything that runs on Web2 needs, like, not everything that runs on centralized servers needs to be translated uh, into a decentralized approach. At least what I can think of as of now, that not every problem needs to be decentralized. There are problems that have very high priority that we need to do first, and after once we have solved those, then I guess we should think that whether there are other problems, like these other problems deserve that much resources or not, in
So,
terms of
so
these.
basically, the autonomy of your data is very important in Web3 world, and that's basically that's you can say that the pushing the people key. Okay, just go to in the Web3 world because in the Web2 there are a lots of you can say that the companies making money with your data, and you don't want to make money with using your data. But in the Web3 you have a basically autonomy. So that's the very basic reason also key. People are getting the interest into this.
So if you look at this point of privacy, right? Even Bitcoin is
Hmm.
not very like so I would say that when your data is on the blockchain, everyone can read and write to it, right? So in a way, like if some sort of analysis on data can be done, right? Like if you put every data that is on a centralized server to a public blockchain, that again is not a good idea because that will literally give everyone access to your data out there,
Hmm.
right? So that's why I think that not every problem deserves that, but I do think that I'm more excited towards the financial problems it can solve, which is
That is a
uh,
decentralized finances concept is come into this.
yeah, I'm more interested in that because most
That
of the people who are not banked suddenly get access to uh, like a
and
complete banking system.
because the Bitcoin has solved the one another problems also. Ki, if you suppose I want to just transfer my money from India to America and some other country, so I have to just go throughout the lots of process. Like where, there are a lots of process which has been done by basically my banking. And what I will do basically in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency, I will just transfer my money in the few minutes, right? So that will also they will just bypass the whole this whole the you can say that the 7 to 8 days or you can say that the state, and they will just can transfer their money into the few seconds or few minutes from one country to another country, and that's also the basic.
Mhm.
Okay, so my second question is ki what have been ki we have so much talk about the crypto ki Bitcoin and all. So is there any dependency, because crypto is playing a major role in Web3, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yep. So basically, if what happens if crypto doesn't in this Web3 world? So is there Web3 world does exist or not? Because we are deploying our smart contract and Ethereum, we have to pay some gas fees, and all thing is going in the cryptocurrency. In the Web3, we have to just do that any
Yeah.
transaction. I want to buy some car and some stuff related to this Web3 metaverse. I have to basically pay some into the cryptocurrency. So what's your point on this?
Yeah. So basically, like it's not possible to create decentralized projects without tokens backing them. You need some
Hmm.
form of a token, right? Some sort form of an incentive. So if you look at Chainlink, right, you have their native token. If you look at Helium, you have HNT. Uh, so yeah, this is why I say that not every problem needs to be decentralized, because not every project has an incentive for people to run these nodes in a
Yeah.
distributed manner. So yeah, but it's kind of not possible to do a public decentralized project without a token that can
Without
provide
a
incentive.
token.
Otherwise, it would be some form of charity, but charity does not have a very great history of scaling.
No, no, no. Like it's a very important role. So basically, crypto, without crypto, we can't imagine the Web3 world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my third question is ki, have you heard about the what is CDBC? Recently, our
Yeah.
government has announced the budget 2022, and their finance minister has announced ki India will be launching their CDBC,
Mhm. Yeah, I
Central
have.
Bank Digital Currency.
Yeah. So I have heard about it, and CDBCs are like uh, CBDCs are like basically a very old concept. It's not very new. If you look at Finland, it already attempted to do it in I
Oh,
guess
teleprinted. Yeah,
1998.
correct. Hmm.
But if you look at it, like it can solve few problems. What I see, and but it still does not. So basically, the few problems that like central banks digital currencies can solve uh, is number one, that a lot of the people who rely on banks and are completely unbanked uh, automatically gets access to to a place to store their money, right? So the very basic funda for which, like the very bare minimum banking is done for people. Now there are few problems with it too. So for example, let's imagine that there is a market recession, right? And at that time, so everyone would still use banks, right? If anyone is thinking that banks would go away, that won't happen with uh, central banks digital currencies, because banks will still provide you interest on top of your fiat. So people will
Correct.
still have their currencies with the bank. But if there's a recession, what people would like to do is that they would like to pull all their bank investment and keep it with the central bank, because they don't want the bank to still have custody with them or over their money, and that can create a bank run at that time. So I have I still have to read. I have found that there is some research paper that has been suggested by, I guess, Bank of like I guess it's a bank from United Kingdom, uh, which has suggested that how this can be solved. So I still have to read that research paper. But yeah, uh,
Yes.
it's good, but
So
it won't solve all the problems. Like the
all
problem.
yeah, correct. But there is a something misconception is going on in our field. Ki, is there a cryptocurrency is equal to the CBDC?
No, no, they are completely different. So even if you own, let's say, uh, like China is already doing a pilot, right? So you still do not control the printing of or the supply of this thing, right? Like this particular new resource. So it's just basically banks notes that are digital, right? So if on any given day, so in case of CBDCs, right, they won't be on a blockchain. They will simply be implemented on a database. There won't be any blockchain required. The ledger
Correct.
won't be distributed. You won't be able to see all the transactions that are happening,
Correct.
and you won't know the dynamics with which they would be printed, or on any given day if demonetizations can still happen of them, right? So basically, whatever you own can still be like taken
Mhm.
away from you if, let's say, yeah, if they want. That's what I'm saying.
CBDC is basically, we can say that that is the electrical form, or you can say that the digital currency of our India. That's it. That's not the part of the this
Yeah.
decentralization, because
Mhm.
the whole data basically is saved on the centralized server, and governments can change and revert the basically transaction and all. That can't be
Yeah.
possible in the case of this Bitcoin and all.
Yeah. So in case of Bitcoin, like because everyone has the ledger, it's not possible to do that. Like if I
Exactly.
said that I will stop my Bitcoin node, that won't stop Bitcoin from existing.
So
Anyway,
my
government
last
have
question.
their own reasons for doing this, and I guess that it's very hard to completely replace fiat with Bitcoins as of
Hmm.
now. El Salvador is doing it, so let's
Correct.
see how it goes for their country. And but I still think that as a asset, Bitcoin is amazing, but it's not an investor advice. Yeah.
Investment advice, I would not
Okay,
prefer
okay.
to.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So
We
my
have,
last
we
question,
have
one of the my basically the question is ki, you have saying ki, you have a experience in this DeFi and you are just exploring this particular field. So how much time will it take to adopt this particular blockchain?
Oh, well, yeah, it's already being adopted. So I found that Ethiopia is going to record all of their uh, students uh, like educational history on a blockchain, and they're doing
Hmm.
going to do this with Cardano. But overall, it's a very tough fight. Like they are going to be places that will be decentralized, but I'm still not sure that Bitcoin will be used as a currency. I think it will be a good asset. Governments might give it
Correct,
recognition
correct,
as an
correct.
asset, but it being a currency is still difficult. It's kind of difficult as of now too.
Okay, that's it from my side. I just had we had a
okay.
great conversation for this time.
Mhm.
We do have some comments on the chat. We do have some questions as well from
Yeah,
Krish.
so
So
I will
starting from
answer. Krish. Yeah, I would like to answer one question from Krish too. Does everyone get access to my chat if it is on the network? Uh, well, if you're recording all of these messages on blockchain, then yeah, obviously everyone should be able to see them. But overall, I'm not super sure about how decentralized chats actually work, because I don't think that everything is recorded on the ledger, because blockchains are not optimized as of now for such real world application. Like they are, but they don't. They generally are not, either they are not highly decentralized, or either they are not highly secured, right? Any two of these are the reasons. Uh, so I'm not super sure that what happens to your chat. A friend of mine is working on a decentralized chat application, so I will ask him. Uh,
okay, so we do have another question from Krish.
mhm.
Such
If
a
you
huge
know
one. How does IPFS work? Is the data stored on nodes or relay servers? If
cool.
if on
So
nodes,
basically,
how do I ensure to protect?
so IPFS is different from like the traditional way the internet works. So it addresses content by, like it addresses website with the content they have. So for example, if you publish something there, the way you would edit it is by editing, like publishing another version of the website, because the earlier version will still be there, right? Now, how do I ensure that a private blog only accessible to people who pay does not get to others? Hmm, that's well, I don't know how to do that. Uh, and yeah, I don't think that IPFS has some sort of native solution to that. It could have, but I have not very directly worked with IPFS, to be frank. But yeah,
Yeah.
but actually, like
So
one way, if you really want to do the this thing, is that if you look at, there's a podcast application that works on Bitcoin, and in the way they are trying to do it is that as you listen to the podcast, they charge you in Bitcoins as you go with the podcast, right? So might be some sort of a model like that could work if you want to do it in a completely decentralized manner. Otherwise, you would need some sort of authentication service, and I think that then some philosophy of a completely distributed ledger would be compromised. Again, not every problem is has a very high priority to be solved in a decentralized manner.
yeah. And the one last question from Krish, I guess.
The anonymity is blockchain might be a bit harmful to it. What are backsides? So, firstly, let me bust a myth. Bitcoin, in theory, might be privacy, like completely private, but what I have heard, and what I also personally think is that a network analysis can be done, and it can be find out that who owns how much bitcoins, because at any given moment you would still be liquidating your money. You would still be giving it to some vendor, to some centralized service. So it can be traced back from where this Bitcoin actually came. So it is still traceable. And that is why some other protocols, like these are called mixed nets, are being created. And NIM is one of them, NYM. And yeah, uh, but can it be a bit harmful to it? Yeah, it can. Like, I don't think that blockchains can be affected. The project can be like Zcash is a project that is doing payments in a completely anonymous way, and I guess most probably governments would try to ban these projects. Yeah, so I guess, like, yeah, like, it's not like theoretically it might be possible to create a system that is completely anonymous, but in reality it's difficult. I'm still very optimistic about mixed nets and the way they are trying to solve this problem. So yeah, do check out NIM, Krish. Uh, I hope this answered Krish's
Yeah.
question. Krish, yeah, like the question was also a bit ambiguous. That's why. Yeah. Cool.
Even I don't know, like you have commented a few things, but it's gonna archive in the, like
Oh well, that's my
some
username.
archive sort of, yeah.
That's my username. It's Harsh Bajpai Archive.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
going around.
So, okay.
Metaverse has a lot of definition depending upon.
We
On
reshared this link as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
sure. Mhm. So there is, if a exchange gets hacked, the money of all users do. So what are the measures for security in that? If an exchange gets hacked, let's say it was a centralized exchange, all the money goes. There are no measures for that. End of the thing. Like, for example, and this is true for like every crypto exchange out there that is decentralized. If your exchange goes out, you no more basically have. And even if you look at it, you don't own any of the cryptocurrency that you buy on a centralized exchange. So you might have seen these ads, right? Like, buy 100 rupees of Bitcoin. It's not even possible to buy 100 rupees of Bitcoin in on the main network. It's like the transaction fees is so high. Right? So the reason why you are able to buy them is because just values in the database are getting updated, and you don't actually own it. So yeah, if exchange goes down and it was centralized, you lose all the crypto that you had with them. So better keep a private hardware wallet. um
So yeah, I hope we are done with the Krish question, but we have one question from Dhruv.
oh yeah, I was also reading that. uh
Okay,
so metaverse have a lot of definition depending
definition
on
on different people
who
having their
want.
own imagination. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah. So metaverse is basically how I define it is that if you have read the book Singularity is Near, it like such virtual experiences have already been defined. But yeah, as of now it's in a first that what it is going to be like whether you would call, like, how would you completely define a metaverse? But for me, it's basically you create uh, a virtual world with virtual assets, and yeah, you just have fun there. Like, you create virtual experiences that people can enjoy. For example, recently, I guess, who's the singer of that song, Bolo Tara Rara, Daler Mehndi, right? Yeah, so he did a concert on the metaverse. So yeah, it's basically create a virtual world uh, where you can do stuff that you can't do on the real world, and then create assets that other people can use. And they're just basically the next generation of social media, like places where people would like to hang uh, out with each other.
so yeah, I don't think
Wish,
so. Like
uh,
any other
yeah, so I would like to answer the last one. So, I heard that, yeah, so I basically super not now. Yeah, so basically, no, I'm asking about the one above it. He said that I heard that exchange keeps 90% of your money on cold wallets. I'm
cold
not
world.
super sure how like the new ones are doing it, but in earlier, like the first crypto exchange in Japan, when it went down, everything went down. So might be the new ones are taking some sort of measures that they can get your money back, but I don't know how exactly will that happen. Might be there is a mechanism that I don't know as of now that has been implemented. But what I do know is that you do not own your Bitcoin directly uh, when you own it on a centralized exchange, because you can't actually even buy 100 rupee Bitcoin. The transaction fee is so high. Uh, cool. Yeah. So I guess we can call it a day. Krish had a lot of questions. Krish, please reach out to me on Slack or Twitter. I'd love to answer there,
Yep.
in whatever capacity I can.
I hope we are done with the session. This is super amazing events. And
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
yep,
Mhm. So everyone, yeah, there was few questions that even I was thought that I'm not very capable of answering, so I have skipped them. But don't think that those questions are not worth investing your time in. Yeah, do invest your time in. I only try to answer the ones that I'm super confident upon. Uh, cool.
so yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ash. We had a great conversation.
Yeah, cool. And yep, have fun, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to end this with like, yeah, so do you want to speak something, Adi? I think your mic is
Nothing.
mute.
Varsha has already told all, cleared all. I don't have any question to
So,
ask.
okay, so Harsh, do you have any closure for BUGTRONS for, I guess your
Mike
mic is on.
muted.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was just
Yep.
trying to find out. Yeah. So my mic was mute. So this is a question not about web, but what really is Hack Club? What really is Hack Club? It's a organization. You can think of it as a global network of teenagers working in tech, like who love tech. They come together on a Slack. They run local clubs, where they decide what is something that really excites them, and then they work on it. But the Hack Club Slack is 16 plus. No, even a 13-year-old can join it. I don't know that. Why you think it's a 16 plus? So what is your age, Krish? Like, are you 11, 12? What is your age? Cool. Anyway, Krish, whatever your age be, you can join it. Uh, uh, no worries. We even have, like 13-year-old kids on Hack
Yep.
Club Slack
To
making
interact.
houses.
We have a lot of clubs there. We have a different passionate peoples there. Yeah, feel free to interact in Slack. Yeah, so thank you, Harsh. That's all for today's session. This was the sixth session of BUGTRONS Con series powered by
Cool.
Preference, streaming partner StreamYard, brought to you by DEVSTRONS and Learn with Community. Thank you
Mhm.
so much.
Oh yeah. By the way, Krish, like I guess I had an answer to your question about before we leave. If exchange gets hacked and you told cold wallet, I just wanted to confirm before I leave, so I actually googled it up. So yeah, in case of even though if they have a cold wallet, let's say, right, like so you even ask what is a cold wallet. So anyway, like so let's say they have a cold wallet, right, which let's say does not get hacked, right? So let's say they have a million, although they can't have a million. Let's say 100 bitcoins in their cold wallet, right? But this centralized service that kept this record of who owns what gets down, then how will they know who owns what? So let's say you have a lot of gold that is stored in a very secure place, and you have a notebook on which you write who owns how much, and that notebook like is no more there the next day. So although you have the gold, but how will you distribute it back? And yeah, by the way, the second type of attack that can happen is also their cold wallets keys getting out there. But yeah, I hope that like that does not happen with any exchange, centralized exchange. They definitely they definitely do have some ways of making sure that they can give you as much security as possible. Uh, but yeah. Thanks, Ankit, and thanks everyone. And Krish, do join Hack Club. It's the perfect place for you. It's not 16 plus, and there are a lot of 13-year-old kids there. So yeah, yep.
Yep.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Bye bye.